Hello everyone, welcome to our Saturday video, and we're recapping everything that happened Friday night. Of course, some very interesting games, some games that I didn't think were going to be as close as they were, and other games that were not what I expected, the opposite way. So let's get right into this. Okay. Binghamton hosts Danbury, longtime Empire rivals, and judging by what we saw in the final couple of minutes, the rivalry has been renewed. So Binghamton doubles up the hat trick, second time that they have done this by the same score this year, 6-3. It was Binghamton early. It was Bondarenko scoring, but then a counter by Drew Welsh. Kind of a leaky goal there. Sebastian Rissar, he faced a lot of shots, kind of got thrown off his game a little bit. There was a lot of debate in the third goal that he surrendered, whether there was goaltender interference. The referees took a look at it, said that there was not, that the contact was initiated by Rissar. That's why the ruling went the way it did. That cost Danbury a penalty. They give up a power play goal. At that point, it was 4-1. It looked like they were well on their way to an easy win. And then Danbury makes things interesting. Goals by Belfay and Lakov in a very short span of time. And suddenly what was a blowout turned into a nail-biter, 4-3 at that point, and it stayed that way until later on in the third period. Mac Jansen gets a hat trick. Yeah, then the last 2 minutes, just both teams, just some dumb penalties, really dumb penalties. And, the game was over. The game had been decided, and I'm sort of thinking, why? But nonetheless, I guess maybe some players think, well, this is what the fans want to see. So, and I'm sure they're right. But anyway, all right, so Danbury falls to 5-6-2. They are now in a tie virtually with Watertown. Meanwhile, Binghamton 11-2. But yeah, the two goals scored in a 43-second period of time, that really put the game away. All right, so this is one of the games that didn't go the way I expected. I thought this was going to be another nail-biter kind of game like what we saw the last two times these teams met, in which during a split, both teams performed last-minute heroics, and I do mean last minute. But this time, no. Even though the Bobcats were putting a lot of pressure on offensively, they just couldn't. They couldn't stop Blake Anderson. Blake Anderson gets a hat trick on the night. The scoring was actually opened by Brett Morich, his first Fed goal. And late in the first period, I thought it was interesting because he's one of the big names in the FPHL. Matt Graham blocks a shot, takes it off the ankle, hobbled him pretty badly. He went off the ice and did not return. Well, he did return as in the third period as a bench coach, dressed in street clothes. But yeah, that was the end of his night. We'll have to see the extent of the damage that was done, but it was obviously enough to hobble him where he was not able to play the rest of the game. So we'll keep a watch on that. So yeah, it was 4-0. For the longest time, Reed Cooper was just stopping everything he saw. And despite Blue Ridge having a lot of net front presence last night, Cooper was able to see beyond that and make save after save after save. And finally, a good screen happened, and Dan Klinecki was able to wire a shot home, taking advantage of the screen. but that was pretty late. That was 15:57 in the third. So all it did was take away a shutout from Cooper. The game had already been decided. And we also had some ugliness in this game as well in the third period. We'll have to see if there are a couple of suspensions. I would say, if I try to put myself in the spot of Dave Jackson, the director of player safety, I look at what Furlov did, I look at what Martin did, and I look at it long and hard. I'm kind of on the fence with both, personally. Yeah, do these guys get a suspension? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll keep a watch on the transactions wire today. All right, so yeah, Prowers win pretty easily, 4-1. They are now 9-4-0. They solidify their hold on on second place, in the Empire. And yeah, look at the Bobcats, kind of struggling there with the record. They went on that first 3-game tear, and they've struggled since. And I'm a bit surprised. They just aren't able to put enough pucks home. I don't think it's a defensive problem per se. It's surprising. So anyway, yeah, Bobcats 5-6 now. This game, another game. It's another game where Indiana, it's close but no cigar. And really, it started off 3 weeks ago when they went to Topeka and played pretty darn well, even though they were winless. They ended up getting their first point out in Topeka, and since then their play has been good. It just hasn't been good enough, and they end up kind of falling a little bit short. 3 goals in very quick order in about a 6-minute span. For Watertown in the second period, that's what made the difference. It was 2-0 Indiana. Really, in the first period, they had, they had goals by Ryan Glazer and Austin Collazo. Collazo had 4 assists last weekend. He gets on the goal tally list now. And Raul Sharma played well. It was just that 5-minute, 6-minute period of time. The second period where Watertown just poured on the shots. Shots in the second period were 17-6. After falling behind 2-0, Watertown really, really amped up their game. They got a couple of goals from Michigan. Zimmerman scored first, actually, and then Michigan scored his first goal of the night just 23 seconds later. And then just a little while later, it was Trevor Newman returning back to Watertown and making the most of his opportunity. So at that point, it was 3-2. Alexander Viger tied it up, but about midway through the final period, it's Michigan again. Just an absolutely wicked backhand. And a lot of players can't effectively shoot a good backhand in this league. Michigan can. And he put home a beauty. It was in the 4-on-4 situation. And there we go. So that was the game-winning goal. Yeah, 7:24 of the third. And Matt Lenz and Sharma, they both played very well. This was a very entertaining game. But yeah, 4-3 the final. The Wolves now 5-6-2 pulled themselves into a tie with the hat tricks. And of course, these two teams are tied 3-3 apiece as far as head-to-head meetings. So it really is a virtual tie. Indiana falls to 1-11-1. Everett Thompson was not at this game. He's celebrating the birth of his first child, so he was at home. And newly named assistant coach Blake Peavy, he was behind the bench calling the shots for Indiana. Certainly not a problem with coaching in this game. Just, again, Indiana falls just a little bit short. All right, here's another game. I didn't expect this to go the way it did. Mainly Athens. This is the first time this year I looked at Athens and thought, they look anemic. Just offensively, they were not able to get a whole lot going. They just weren't connecting on passes. They, weren't using their speed to drive the puck into the offensive zone and take control of the flow of the game. They just couldn't get anything going. Monroe really couldn't either, so it looked like it was going to be a goaltender's duel for quite a while. Consider the first goal was a 17-18 of the second period, scored by Brandon Picard to break up the dual zeros. But yeah, Monroe, they looked all right. Didn't look great. Athens, they looked all right. Didn't look great. So yeah, it was kind of I was surprised that this just wasn't a very exciting game. It was a good game, but yeah, Athens does end up taking control. It was 2 quick goals. It was Picard scoring, and then Joe Mack scores his game-winning goal shorthanded. It was, well, with 25 seconds left in the second period. And then Carlos Fernandez scores to draw Monroe close, make things interesting, but nothing else was getting by Lavalier. Nothing else was getting past Henry Graham, for that matter. So, yeah, 2-1 the final score. And despite just 21 shots on goal, that's the fewest they've had this year by far, they pull out a win. And they're now 10-1. Monroe falls to 6-3-1. So those are the games that I did watch. I watched like the last, I think, 6 minutes of this game. I was able to tune in after this game ended. I switched over to here, and I was able to see Zach White score his hat trick, and I couldn't believe it. No hats on the ice for the longest time, and then one player. It was Dyson Skinner sitting on the bench, threw his hat. The teams are lining up for the next face-off, and finally Skinner throws a hat out there to get a pause, and then you saw about a dozen hats come on the ice. But yeah, it's like, hey, guess what? Zach White just got a hat trick. Surprise, surprise. And that was late in the game. That was 17:48 of the third. Yeah, he and Ford and Kramer really asserted themselves. They accounted for most of the offense for the Thunderbirds. White with the 3 goals, Ford with 3 setups. Kramer also had a couple of assists, and Boris Babic looked very comfortable. He's been good this year, but I don't think he's looked comfortable in that until last night. He looked like he was really dialed in. So at least what I saw. And on the other side, Ricardo Gonzalez, he stops 35 of 39. His stats were, for some strange reason, non-existent. So yeah, he was showing zeros on the team stats page. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so I don't know his time on ice, but the final goal was an empty netter. So yeah, that doesn't count against him. So stops 35 of 39. But yeah, what I had heard from a couple other people is that Twin Cities really stepped up their defense. Their defense played a much, much better game, maybe one of their best games this year so far. And it helps pull them up to 4-7. Not looking quite as bad. It was a rough start. Maybe they've gotten over the hump. PD, in the meantime, they've lost 2 straight. They are now 5-4-1. And the last 2 games, their offense has struggled. Kind of surprising. But nonetheless, yeah, things are tightening up a little bit in the Continental Division after you get past Athens being, up on top. So, yeah, it was interesting to see the Thunderbirds respond with their performance, a very consistent effort from, again, what I was told by a couple of people who did watch the game. One person was at the game messaging me and kind of letting me know what was going on. So yeah, so that ends that. Let's go to Columbus and Biloxi. Still waking up. Still need some caffeine here. Okay, so Biloxi again. The team on paper looks really good. It's not translating into wins. It's not translating out in the ice. And they played, I'd say, a good 50 minutes. I was checking this game in spots throughout. I'd say maybe I took in about a period worth of play, about 20 minutes worth of play here and there. But the thing that really struck me, and this was a bit concerning for me, if I'm a Biloxi fan, is that the last 2 goals that Rosenzweig gave up, he had committed. It was in situations which Columbus had a lot of offensive presence, a lot of time, a lot of space. Biloxi's weakness has been on the defensive side, and those opportunities that Columbus got a good look. It's almost like they froze Rosenzweig. He had already committed, and they were able to beat him pretty easily. So that's a little concerning. Maybe that's something that you use video to look at. But nonetheless, the game-winning goal was scored by Tyler Barrow, 4:29 of the third period. That had made it 3-1 at that point. We did have a goal by Davidson on that second line. He's been a good addition. But yeah, Davidson and Crowder were the goal scorers. You did not have anything at all from the exception line, the line of Caden Henry, Yaroslav Yevdokimov, and Lucas Pekarchik. Nothing. They were effectively shut down by the Columbus River Dragons, and so they cruised to a 5-2 win. So they are 7-4 now. A couple of those wins are overtime wins, but nonetheless, they are 7-4. They're climbing the standings. Biloxi 3-6-1. Really need to figure out a way of getting 3 points tonight because they travel to Monroe for Sunday. That's all I'll say about that. Okay, so final game of the night, and this is the second time this year that the Zydeco decidedly outplayed their opponent and came up on the short end. It's a head scratcher. It's not just because they got 50 shots on goal. They did. They got out-goalied. I was able to watch the third period of this game, and already John Clement had been talking going into that about how incredible of a performance Danil Bryzgalov was putting up in goal. And then I watched the third period and it was like, yeah, that's a valid assessment. Bryzgalov he looked like Ilya Bryzgalov, just fantastic. I'm referring to that one really great year that Ilya had with the Coyotes. But anyway, yeah, Danil Bryzgalov really put himself on the radar as one of the up-and-coming goalies in this league with a fantastic performance, 48 saves on the night. Ed Coffey did not play poorly, but yeah, he ends up giving up 3 goals. Scotty Koash, he ends up getting an empty netter at the end of the game to go along with a couple of assists earlier on. He was trying to get the Gordie Howe hat trick before he scored the goal. He was looking for a fight and didn't have any takers. Yeah, he was just kind of looking to assert himself. Didn't get himself in the penalty trouble, but you could see him skating out there with purpose. And then he ends up getting the empty net goal. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But yeah, it was Avery Smith that got the deciding goal, 4:52 into the second period. At that point, it was 3-1 in favor of Topeka, but you did have a very good night by Jake Cox. Gets a goal and assist. Just all for naught. And again, that's what happens. Sometimes you just get bested by the goalie. And that happened here. Bryz steals 3 points for Topeka. They are now 6-3 after that long 2-week layoff. I know they were very anxious to get back at it. He struggled at times with offense, it looked like, but yeah, overall, I think they had a good effort. It was good enough for the win. And again, if you're Baton Rouge, you're going, what do we have to do to get points in this league? They fall to 1-6-1. Very unfortunate. Indiana and Zydes, the 2 7th place teams, they are not this bad. Their play is not this bad. It's just how things have happened. So you scratch your head, you say it is what it is, and you go on. You try and go on and worry about today's game, tomorrow's game, the next game. Just trying to do what you can to get 3 points. All right, so that is Friday night in a nutshell. We have 6 games on tap tonight. Watertown and Indiana will be taking the day off. So we have the other 6 matchups. And of course, we will bring them here and talk about them here on YouTube. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping to get to 1,000 here on YouTube in very short order. Getting a lot closer. Thank you so much to all of you. If you have not subscribed, please do so. I would deeply appreciate that. Hit like. I know there's a lot of I know there's a lot of views, so I do appreciate that. Also, make sure you're following me on Facebook. That's where the news gets printed, and we'll see if I'm printing anything about suspensions today or not. I might not be. Again, like I said, with those 2 incidences, personally, I'm on the fence. Looking at things closely, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Also, remember, I have my my weekly features through WordPress that I print, such as Stars and Standings, Picks and Previews, and Power Rankings, which will not be this upcoming week. It'll be the week after. All right. Thank you so much for watching and for all your support. I am Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. Have yourself a great weekend.